Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger and my friends. Today we're here to talk about some of the worst mechanics in fighting game history. So fighting game mechanics can be very divisive to say the least. They can be frustrating, annoying, or just plain not fun. But you know, the mechanics make the game. So if you want to play the game, you got to take the good with the bad. And some mechanics you could say are objectively bad, but they sort of make the game what it is, so you just kind of got a deal. That said, however, some mechanics are so just particularly heinous that they gotta get called out. And well, that's what this video is. Now to note, these will be specifically noting system mechanics, not necessarily character gameplay mechanics. Fighting games are not hurting for god-awful mechanics tied to specific characters. You want a specific example? Check out this video. It'll be linked in the video description. We're going to talk about the bad system mechanics because unlike a singular bad character mechanic, a bad system mechanic affects the entire game and everything in it. So that said, let's go to our first example. So we're going to start with Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And what are we going to start with? A lot, in fact, because this is going to open the video and it's also going to close the video. But for now, let's talk about a very specific mode. And that mode is going to be Pandora mode. So Pandora, as you can see here, is a very visually striking mode. That's really cool. And it gives you a lot of fun and interesting bonuses, a lot of meter, not the least of which, but also, wait, what? Why did we just die? We were just hitting Ken. Well, we just died because of Pandora mode. Pandora mode existed in, I don't want to call it the golden era because it's not, but a big era where comeback mechanics were all the rage in fighting games. And this is definitely one of those. So how did this all work? So as a comeback mechanic, you had to be on lower health. And this is a tag game, very different kind of tag game. Works on Tekken tag rules, right? So as long as the character you're actively playing is at 25% less health and your life will be flashing accordingly, right, when you're doing it, you can then basically Pandora tag out to the other character. So just down and medium punch, medium kick. And then, well, you can see here, the visual effect's very striking, right? They have this really cool look, and you can see here on the top left, there's a timer counting down, and you have that long to win. And if you don't win when that timer is up, you automatically lose the round. And the story, like you have some profound strengths here. Like you can see here, we're not starting with any bar or anything like that. So when we switch over to Pandora, you can see here Chun now has full meter. So now that I'm given full meter, like I can just immediately like dump, right? Like I'm given the full meter, go from there. And that's really nice. Like having a full meter means like you can do whatever hit and you got full meter because you can hit confirm into this. Like there's just lots of ways you can make something work with Pandora. Just as a comeback mechanic, though, it's not the most effective because you kind of have to have a combo you have to be able to kill from. Like I can hit the opponent and then wall bounce him with like whatever given combo. And like the combo, it can hurt. But obviously there's scaling to matter and all that, right? And just, I have to win with the combo because you can see that bar is draining and then boom, I'm dead if it doesn't kill in that initial combo. And this is the buff, this is the patch version of the game, by the way. In comparison to older versions of the games, they added like 3-4 more seconds in later patches. So it lasted a lot longer than it normally would. Like before, you could die by timeout if your super or whatever you didn't do enough damage by the time the timeout happened and Pandora ran out, right? Like it is demonstrably a comeback mechanic in that my health is low. This mechanic only exists with my low health. And then I can do a thing which is nominally cool. And once again, I think the visual for it's really fantastic, right? Like the colors are very striking, looks really neat. But it just didn't work. Like a lot of things about Street Fighter Cross Tekken didn't work. Let's put it that way, right? And this was just one of them. There's definitely comeback mechanics that were too strong or too annoying, and we're going to get to one in a moment. But Pandora, I think it was a worthy attempt, but they were also scared at the time. Considering the blowback of Street Fighter 4 and Ultras, that they didn't want a comeback mechanic too strong, and thus they wound up with something that was wildly undertuned. So now, coming off the Pandora section, it was a comeback mechanic, just a god-awful one. But what if the comeback mechanic's too good? So ever since Street Fighter 4 kind of brought fighting games back in a big way, Ultras were a big part of it, right? And that's your rewarded for losing mechanic. You're losing a bit too much, so you get something cool. In Street Fighter 4 context, it's, you get the Ultra, which definitely was a big part of the game for the lifespan of the game. And obviously a lot of other games took note. So Street Fighter Cross Tekken took Pandora as here's your reward for losing, except it sucked. But what if it's actually kinda too good? So what happens when the comeback mechanic goes too far? Then, well, we enter Mortal Kombat 11. So by this point in Mortal Kombat's life, we already had things like supers, like X-Rays or an MKX and all that kind of stuff. An MK9, that's not new, but MK11 specifically, we introduced the Fatal Blow. So the Fatal Blow was when you got to 30% of your health, low health, you got the big, cool cinematic move. And they're big, they're cool, a lot of them are really neat looking, they do a lot of damage, like, sure, okay, fighting game 101, I guess. And it's tied to your health being low, so it's the comeback mechanic. And the thing with this is they knew it was a stronger attack, so it was once per game. So if you hit that stuff in round 1, it was not there for you round 2 and 3. It was a one and done deal. That, I think, is perfectly fine. Like, I can hit it all I want. I'm still in the health margin for it. Like, I'm never getting that back. The problem was, as a one and done, is if you whiffed. So say for whatever reason, I didn't connect the move. Then you might notice here, it's grayed out a little bit, but it's gonna come back. And the problem with that is specifically, some Fatal Blows are so much better than others. It's one of those cases where the universal mechanic does not apply universally to the cast. A lot of the Fatal Blows are what I would term gotcha Fatal Blows, where as long as you're even mildly on the ball, I see you like do something, you whiff a normal, you whiff a move, whatever, and then, because the input is just L2 and R2, right? It's like no motions needed. It's just a pure reaction. Oh, I see a button, and then, haha, gotcha. And then you have people like, say, Frost. Frost is a 17-frame startup move that is the full screen. The entire screen. I catch you doing anything at all full screen, then it's haha, gotcha. And in this current version, you're looking at the patched version, right? This wasn't even the best at launch. Aaron Black's was like 11 frames or something at launch. So this is like later in the game's life, and this is still ridiculous. Once again, caught you jumping full screen, gotcha. Like, you can't do much. I can just kind of hold you hostage with the move. And say, in that situation, what if you blocked, right? Well, okay, it does a good amount of chip. Aaron's Black did a crazy amount of chip, by the way. It does a good amount of chip, and like, you're not in any real position to punish it at the range I would want to use it at, right? So what's going to happen is I'm going to wait a few seconds, and then it's going to come back, and now, oh, here we go. The option's back on the table. We're going to do it again, and I get to keep doing this forever and ever and ever until I actually kind of land it. And for a lot of the casts, they just kind of had very strong versions, like Cabal. Cabal was another, what I would term a gotcha Fatal Blow, because he could get you no matter where you were on the screen. Because what would happen is, the startup of the move is just simply he goes off screen, and that's it, right? So it has a bit of startup tied to it, but since it's effectively a teleport, it just like the Frost example, just like Aaron Black, just like many other examples, it's a gotcha. And the worst part is, say you did block it, it's to the point where it's exceptionally difficult to get a punish of note, because like you can see here, they bounce back a huge amount. Lots of characters could punish it, but it's not one of those intuitive kind of punishes. Like, this is one you specifically have to pick your specific character, lap out this specific Fatal Blow, exactly see what you could get, versus, a lot of the characters would be a lot more just, okay, you whiff the big thing in front of me, punish you, go from there. And this was a problem for many characters here, like Garrus. Very fast startup, good check from mid-screen. Didn't hit as far away as some other ones, but the fact it just created so much pushback, it was kind of like, if you blocked it, oh well, because the pushback's so insane that like most of the cast can't really do anything about it. And then all you gotta do is wait a few seconds, it's gonna come back. And if I miss it, and then say we go to the next round, well, it's still there for me next round. And eventually I'm gonna land it. And it costs me 0 resources. It costs me nothing other than I get punched in the face a few times and, you know, lose the match. It just cost me losing the match, which, you know, is going to happen sometimes. And just because you blocked it one time doesn't mean you might block it the next time, right? It's a sort of a scary bit of inevitability because the fatal blow's coming your way. And the reason it was so frustrating is just because, once again, universal mechanics don't affect characters universally. Not everyone had really good ones. Like, we had Frost or Aaron Black, which were amazing. And then we had stuff like collectors. Let me say, nothing to write home about. Let's put it that way, right? So there was definitely haves and haves nots. And it was just frustrating because usually when you avoid that big cinematic super, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? Like, okay, you probably lost a bunch of meter. I'm guaranteed to get a big punish. Haha, gotcha. But here, you only lost temporary use of it for a few seconds. If it didn't actually connect, it only goes away if it actually hit you and took a giant chunk of your life. And then if it didn't, well, let's just keep playing around with it and keep worrying about it forever because it's going to be a threat until it actually gets used. And it made Fatal Blow such a frustrating mechanic to deal with. Now, moving on to Guilty Gear Xrd, we got a mechanic that's pretty universally despised, and that's what we call Danger Time. So what exactly is Danger Time? Well, sometimes a clash happens when two attacks hit each other, right? And it's cool and it's cinematic, it's appropriately anime. But the problem is, every now and then a clash instead will result in Danger Time. And you can see here, there's a bit of a timer here, the screen's dark, like things look dramatic, right? And, well, for a good reason, because Danger Time, no matter whatever the match was to that point, whoever was winning or losing, it doesn't matter, because the reason why Danger Time's so hated is because take the match as it was and you throw it out the friggin' window. So what's happening is this. So say take like a basic, okay, so heavy slash, right? You see how much damage it does? So now whenever we trigger a Danger Time, and it's a random occurrence, that's the thing too, is it's completely random. You do not know when it's gonna happen. It's just whenever the fates conspire against you, right? And then every hit during the duration of Danger Time is more damaging and a mortal counter. Notice here that Venom's like kind of doing like this slow-mo hit. And from there, like, I'm not being stopped at all. I can literally like, do this, run up and hit him again. I can do whatever combos I could dream up. Effectively, whatever the next hit is a combo starter in and of itself. Like, we use heavy slash, right? No, but regular slash, kick, even a jab. I can get a heavy slash off a jab, like just a punch, right? Whatever the hit is effectively a guaranteed combo starter with a bonus to your damage. Considering such a game-changing turnabout is off just a random clash, both players gotta like completely just throw out the game plan as it was now because you're scrambling. Because even the tiniest little hit, just like a little crouch punch, right, can now become a game changer in and of itself. So Danger Time, not everyone's favorite mechanic. Now we come to a mechanic I personally extra hate here, and we're in Soul Calibur 6. And this mechanic is so bad, it like permanently damaged the reputation of Soul Calibur as far as I'm concerned. It's definitely the reason why Soul Calibur 6 didn't hit as hard as it could, because at the time you'd hear nothing but utter contempt for this mechanic. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the reversal edge. So what is the reversal edge? So hit guard and B at the same time, and you do this little fancy attack. And now you notice here, we're getting extra cinematic. There's a lot of stuff going on. And what this is a very extended and very unfun rock, paper, scissors mechanic. And what makes this annoying is very annoying on so many levels beyond just the rock, paper, scissors, which we'll get into, but just what it is and what it does. So for one, the move does chip damage, annoying. Secondly, this is the patched version, much later on in the game's life. Earlier in the game's life, if you did the full charge version, this is a chargeable move, and you blocked it, it forced the rock, paper, scissors immediately. So you didn't even get the option to guard without having to deal with the dumb mini game, which was very annoying. And what's really annoying, if it was just like an attack by itself, that'd be annoying enough, right? But you parry attacks while it's up. which is extra stupid. So like I can't even necessarily hit you out of this stuff, right? Like as you can see here, multi-hitting strings don't matter. Parry, parry. And eventually that attack's still gonna come on through. Now Soul Calibur, you can easily sidestep stuff, right? But it doesn't make the attack any less annoying or frustrating to deal with. Especially because when you think Fighting Game 101, if you have a counter style move, right? Well, I'll throw you out of it. I can't throw you out of it. It parries throws. How ridiculous is that? Just to keep it being annoying, you cannot guard impact the full charge version of the move. So it can be quicker, it can be slower, it's very annoying, it does chip damage, there's no consequence if it gets blocked. Anything short of a sidestep, you're gone, right? And the fact that it parries attacks in its startup means that if you weren't immediately like, oh, caughting it and like sidestepping out of the gate, you could easily get attack hitting into it, get parried, and then get smoked on the other end, right? Sucks. And then we enter rock, paper, scissors. So here, hopefully I have this up on the screen, is a very dense chart. It's very stupid. And also, even though it's rock, paper, scissors, it does favor the initiator of the chain. So whoever started the reversal edge will have an advantage. Okay, so how does this all work? So we have A, B, and K. Those are our base attacks, right? And that's like rock, paper, scissors, basically, except not fully. So if you block, blocking is an option. If you block A, then you're just kind of pushed out. If you block K, you're kind of pushed out. And both of these will do a good amount of guard gauge damage as well. You can see the guard gauge is flashing now, right? But if we do B, it does even more guard gauge damage. And it forces a second round. And in that second round, if you block against B again, it's a guaranteed guard break, guaranteed damage is coming your way. So right now the bot's going to hit A. So if we both clash on the same move, we just go to round 2. And on round 2, the aggressor, if we both hit the same button, always wins, which is another fun layer. So say we both go for kick instead, right? So if we both pick kick here. Okay, we tie round 2. Round 2, I pick kick. Oh, I'm the aggressor. I win. Haha. Eat crap. So once again, this is always weighed towards the person who initiates. Besides all that, A beats kick as an option. B beats A. And if you're the defender and you hit B, like you win, right? Like, so you still get these RPS options. K beats B specifically. And then if it was just that, like, it would be already be annoying, but let's just keep going, right? Because you can also move directions. So if you go forward, that'll beat A attacks, like your horizontal attacks, right? But then there's also, you know, B vertical attacks. So like, what if I hit sidestep? If I sidestep instead, oh, I get smoked by A, but I can beat B. So like forward loses to B and K, but beats A. Sidestep beats B, but loses to A and K. Then you can also hit back. And going back here, well, I can see this is going to lose because I've set to B right now, right? But going backwards will beat K, but lose to A and B. Like, don't confuse it. Like, fighting games on a lot of levels have some manner of rock, paper, scissors, right? Although, like, high-speed intervals, I guess you could say. But when you literally devolve it down to, like, no, actual rock, paper, scissors, that kind of sucks. Like, that ain't fun. Like, I ain't having a good time with this, right? Like, and that's what made this so frustrating on top of the fact, once again, effectively, you might as well call it armor attack that parried attacks while it started up, all that kind of stuff. The only real way was to catch it before it even happened, sidestepping. It had incredibly fast startup as well, so you can just kind of do it real quick and just low consequence. It does chip damage and the actual RPDS. It's just kind of messed up. And the fact which always frustrated me is that it could parry throws, which is ridiculous because counterattacks should never be able to beat a throw, but here we are. So yeah, Reversal Edge damaged Soul Calibur 6's reputation. And the game got a lot better, for sure, by the end of it especially, right? But I don't think it ever fully recovered from it. That initial, like, poor reception of it. Like, the fact that when they were leading up to the game's release, and they're doing interviews, they said Reversal Edge was a mechanic designed for lesser skilled players to be able to hang with and beat players better than them. And if you were making a mechanic that explicitly said, like, this exists to beat someone who's better than me, that is actually all the way messed up. Like, that fighting game should be the better man wins, not because, like, a mechanic brings you there, right? And yet, That's how this stuff wound up being, and that's more than a bit messed up. So reversal edge is an all-time swing and a miss of a mechanic for sure. And then we hit the system mechanics that are really awful, and not even for purely game-related terms. What if the real world snuck in and sort of helped ruin your game for you? So that's why we're back at Street Fighter Cross Tekken. So you might notice here, this is a much bigger roster than maybe you've seen previously, right? Because, well, there's a lot more characters because this is later and it's all DLC. And one of those real fun real world practices at the time was what we call on-disc DLC. The developers were willing to sell you things that were already 100% done and ready to go, and they just basically had an unlock key holding you back. So a lot of the existing DLC characters would basically be playable, and they were playable because people could hack the disc and just see everything that's already on it. And then, like a year later, we're like, you know what? These things have been on the disc for a year. Now we're going to charge for you to unlock them. That sucked. That's not necessarily gameplay, even though characters are gameplay. But let's talk the gem mechanic. So what do gems do exactly? Well, by itself, it's almost innocuous, right? It's almost like a customization. Like, do you want to be more offensive based? Do you want to be more defensive based? And eventually you do enough things, and like, then gems could activate in a battle. Like this one right here. When it's up, you can see glowing. It helps my defensive abilities. So that's cool. That's interesting. And when you're selecting your characters and you're selecting your team, you just select a character and like, okay, I want this character, you know, do whatever. And then, okay, once our team is selected, then, okay, what gem layout do we want? Because there's multiple gem layouts. You can have multiple things. There's multiple kinds of gems. These are the presets, as you can see here. So speed, damage, defense, whatever. There's multiple options. So we can pick a character of our choice. Okay, Zangief, you can see here, he's got some defensive gems already. So this one will trigger if it gets hit by 4 normal moves. This one will trigger if the opponent uses Pandora. Probably not going to happen. But regardless, these give us like different defensive buffs. And we can pick one here like, okay, I want this one here that gives me an offensive buff. Get any by any 8 normal moves, I get 20% damage for a few seconds. And then we'll go with, randomly, we'll go with, let's say, this one right here. Boom. Another iron wall. And this one triggers if my partner escapes 2 throws. Some of these got very edge case triggers. You know, block so many times, get hit so many times, hit so many special moves, get hit by so many special moves, use a cross assault, opponent uses a cross assault, or cross art rather. Like, there's a lot of different things. But the thing is, this is what makes it so awful. The thing here is customization of how you want to play and how you want to fit your playstyle, I think, is perfectly fine and all right. But the fact that some of these are literally for sale. Like when the game came out, some of these were pre-order only. Then the game came out and they had multiple sets of DLC ones over the course of the game's life. And the fact that they were basically selling you gameplay. Like, it's one thing to sell you gameplay when it's a new character. Like, we all get that. A new DLC character has its own special moves and all that kind of stuff. That's gameplay of a sort. But say one of the DLC gems has the exact, it has the power-up you want in the exact, you know, style that you want, you know? I always want my power boost after I roll forward after a knockdown 2 times. If I can't do that, I can't play the game I want to play for whatever reason, right? But then it's, oh, it's in DLC Gem Pack 3. What? And don't get me wrong, like, as much as I love Capcom, this was designed to be predatory out of the gate. They reined their plans back significantly after like a massive amount of public backlash. Not the least of which, as we mentioned, all those DLC characters were already on the disc to begin with, and they just upcharged you for them like a year later after the launch. Like, it was all sorts of messed up. So a lot of these here were shop only. Like, you had to spend real world money to get them, and that was not good at all. And we're not there anymore. We're not selling gameplay in-game buffs for money, at least not yet. Maybe we'll get there again. But just for that alone, even though on its face, like, the gem system's kind of innocuous, it's kind of harmless if it was just all pre-packaged, all in-game, and that was it. But the fact that you're tying actual tangible game buffs to the gems that are for sale and cannot be procured in any other way, that was awful. And for that alone, that makes the gem system in Street Fighter Cross Tekken the worst gameplay mechanic in fighting game history, in my opinion. So that's some of my thoughts on the worst mechanics in all of fighting games. Obviously, to this day, there remains bad gameplay mechanics. Like, they still let people pick and play as Ken in Street Fighter. That's not a very good mechanic. But that's where I'm at right now. And I'm sure there's probably quite a few mechanics that get your goat. You know, post in the comments below the ones that really cheesed you off over the years. Or conversely, say, for whatever reason, you love Reversal Edge. How dare I talk down about Reversal Edge? By all means, defend it if you can. But other than all that, my friends, that is it for the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some fighting games.